I found out about Sanabi watching a new film plus video about the best game animations of 2023. And Sanabi was right there in the pixel art category. The flashy violence, slick presentation and detailed pixel art environment reminded me of another game, Katana Zero. The DLC is definitely on the way, I believe. But well, it turns out my initial impression wasn't quite accurate. The comparisons to Katana Zero don't go anywhere beyond having great pixel art. Sanabi is a very story-heavy game with several hours worth of dialogue-heavy sequences, which will leave anyone looking for a fast, violent mix of action really annoyed. In fact, the game isn't even particularly violent most of the time. The majority of the things you kill are robots, which, well, unless you're an AI who has gone rogue on their own kind, not much there to see. There are a few things about Sanabi that I find interesting. The fact that it has close to 25,000 reviews on Steam and I have barely heard about this game. Even though I'm constantly in indie game circles, most posts in the Steam discussions are in Korean. There are a total of 5 English guides and like 2 reviews of the game with over 1,000 views, which makes no sense because this is the type of indie game that I know will appeal to a lot of people. It's visually stunning with decadently detailed environments that shift as you progress through the game. The grimy harshness and the neon, the lower levels contrasted with the vibrant paint of the upper levels of Margot City. The fluid animation that takes these pixel characters and breathes life into them, giving each character a personality through the visuals itself. It's great. Another interesting thing about Sanabi is the grappling hook based, well, everything really. You move using the hook, you fight using your hook, you deliver nuclear weapons to Kim Jong-un using your hook. The hook-based movement system is fantastic. It's fun learning how to use the grappling hook, getting used to the momentum, mastering it, and swinging around at full speed. It always feels satisfying when I manage to string together a quick sequence of grabs to zoom past a section. There's a nice weight to the grappling hook. It feels like there's actual strength needed to swing using the chain arm. But once you learn the system well enough, the gameplay in Sanabi is pretty shallow. It has a solid base, but the level design is not particularly memorable. Like it's a linear game, I was not expecting Metroidvania style layering or interconnectedness, but there aren't really that much details in the levels themselves, contrasted with the heavily detailed backgrounds. It's a bunch of rectangles on screen, combined with boring enemies. Most of the normal enemies just stand there and take it, attacking in extremely predictable patterns and don't even change their locations much. I died much more often by swinging into these red walls of death than any of the enemies or even boss fights in the game. The game does introduce new elements every once in a while, like slamming into enemies to destroy them or controlling robots to find the path forward. These are fun additions and I feel the game would have been better if they included more of these. The boss fights, however, were always a highlight. All of them were a special kind of visual spectacle. All the bosses look great and have unique ways they move around. It's always fun to figure out what exactly the game wants with me in these encounters. They're spaced out relatively well, fit really well in the areas they're set in, and the difficulty for them is well balanced, where it's a fitting challenge near the end of an area, but it's not overlong or annoying. Well, except one boss, but it's still fun, but it's a bit too long. And I think that this is a criticism that can be attributed to much of the game. Something like the factory level is a bit visually dull and lasts too long. But let's get to the part that is definitely not unfinished, the story. It's clear much of the focus was on this part, who plays a high-ranking veteran who is spending his retirement taking care of his daughter. They're pretty solitary and far away, and while they seemingly live in a pretty modest house, they have fun spending time with each other. But this wasn't to last. An explosion, a single word, and his life falls apart as his daughter dies in front of him. And he could do nothing. He goes on a revenge spree with one single word haunting him: Sanabi. He needs to track Sanabi down. His old military buddies and comrades contact him, tell him that Sanabi has been fed to Margo City, a corporation-owned city where seemingly everyone has disappeared. And that's only scratching the surface of what's wrong with this city. Now, I can sit down and give a blow-by-blow of the whole plot, but I won't. It's a pretty long and complicated affair, and it's a great story, cleverly laid out. The reveals are done perfectly, the plot twist engaging throughout. I do not have any problems with the plot of the game at all. A lot of the weirdness at the start smartly comes back up in the plot to make for a lot of aha moments. The interaction between the main character and Mari, who we met early on, is really charming, and she carries an infectious energy that makes her a fun presence every time she is on screen. I will, however, complain a bit about the writing style. It's not great. What I mean by that is that while the events themselves are interesting and memorable, the dialogue and writing that goes into it aren't that memorable sentence to sentence, which is more of a problem when the game isn't really that great in terms of making dialogue cutscenes compelling. The cutscenes, which have really well animated characters on screen, but a lot of the time end up being dull text boxes beyond that. I think the game could have been helped by trimming down the word count and delivering information in ways that don't completely bring the gameplay to a standstill. The whole game could go up. I think the whole game could go up another step in terms of direction. Like, I realize why the dialogue between the general and his daughter exists at the start of the game, but it's not particularly well written or interesting. So the total length of the whole sequence feels drawn out, and the game repeats information a bit too much. Keeping something unsaid can sometimes make for a stronger moment. But enough complaint. I really do think Sanabi's story is great. And yeah, even with my issues, I did enjoy the game a lot. It's a very ambitious indie project, especially in terms of storytelling, and I'm eagerly waiting for what Wonder Potion can cook up next. This is an insanely polished game for its studio's first output.